Okay, so the markets crashed last night. There is a question, should I nuke? Can we do a semi-nuke here? Today is November 19, 2021, and you're watching me, Nikki Yu, for our Awesome10X Global Market free class. So let's take a look. So this is what happened last night. Only retail was up in the green, thanks to the likes of Victoria's Secret, thanks to the likes of Bath and Body Works. And you can see that a whole tail of retail earnings were really on a tear. However, you could see a huge drop, particularly in a lot of electric vehicles. You've got Rivian, Lucid Motors, all crashing down. You've got some blockchain-related names, some cryptocurrencies falling down. Healthcare has been on a red day, not just last night, but for quite a few months already. Solar was a bit down after the climate change. They actually gave up some of their gains. You could see materials, tech services. We've got nasty numbers from some 3D printing names. Additive manufacturing didn't do well as a sector. The bright spots were very few. Retail, semiconductors, yes, did very well. 5G, yes, they did well. Some finance, some energy, but in general, it's not enough. Mostly on the red. Of course, last night, we also had a very nasty number from Chinese stocks, which led more downside for the Chinese stocks. For those who were short, however, they were very happy with this drop. Alibaba headed for the very worst day in 11 months after their earnings fell short. The company cut forecasts. A lot of people are actually bearish already for most Chinese companies, notwithstanding the earnings. So this was more or less a miss. And you could see that from the numbers, let's just go through it. Alibaba said that the profit tumbled 81% as the government crackdown on the country's big tech really bit on their bottom line. Alibaba's profit came in at simply $800 million for that quarter, falling from over 28 billion yuan. The Hangzhou-based company's revenues generated mainly by its e-commerce reached 200 billion yuan, still up 30%. But earnings results is really anticipated, and this is gonna hinder a lot of Chinese index ETFs to go up in any short-term time frame. Last night, this is what you see in the numbers of a lot of Chinese names. This is just one day. Bilibili also dropping 17%, also a bad number. Alibaba 11%, close to its all-time low. Well, it's not yet at all-time low, but this is roughly in the 5-year low. This is even worse for over like March 2020. So this is really very bad for Alibaba. You've got 9988, which is also Alibaba, following in Hong Kong, similarly down 10%. Unfortunately, for most Chinese stocks, you could see that the entire sector is really lower lows, lower highs. We don't see a lot of strength in China, save for the fact only EVs, Chinese EVs like Xpeng, Li Auto, and NIO are some of those who are able to generate strength, or even like your BYD 1211 and electric vehicles as a sector are still strong. However, the entire gamut of Chinese stocks is actually all in the red. So nobody's actually assuming any of them to rally anytime soon. In fact, rallies would still be sold down on any rally. Another huge red day for marijuana, but you could see that weed stocks last night was actually falling down even after 2 weeks of initial strength. There are some of the latest cannabis news sharing that Michigan marijuana regulators are now recalling cannabis products from hundreds of the stores, citing unreliable test results. We're also seeing that Scientific American, this is a journal, saying that cannabis use for pregnant women could be linked to child anxiety and hyperactivity, which can actually delay any potential bullishness about this legalization in most states of America. Now, the lead role of the Congress representative, Nancy Mace, says that the only place that cannabis is controversial is Washington, D.C. A lot of the Americans, 80% of them, are actually supportive of the legalization of cannabis. So this is a nice 12-minute video that you can watch from Yahoo Finance Representative Nancy May on cannabis, since this Congress is still on talks. No? So you've got a lot of volatility from the Democrats who are probably not supportive. This one, of course, is a pro this movement. We'll also see her rationale. A Republican Congresswoman who made waves after introducing a bill to federally legalize marijuana this week said on Tuesday she actually used cannabis personally for a short time in her youth to help her get off pharmaceutical drugs she was prescribed for depression after being raped at age 16. Representative Nancy Mace shared the story on Fox Business Kennedy after being asked whether she herself smokes marijuana. When I was 16, I was raped. I was given prescription medication, making the feelings that I had of depression worse. I stopped taking those prescription drugs. I turned to cannabis for a brief period of time in my life. Representative Nancy Mace said that she knows firsthand that providing access to vulnerable communities, particularly military veterans who suffered a host of mental health conditions like PTSD, is going to benefit from cannabis use since they're being treated as well with a lot of opioid usage. She also said that he knew legislative effort is particularly protective of veterans, ensuring that they are protected and not discriminated against, and that the U.S. Veteran Affairs can utilize cannabis for these PTSD efforts and protection for PTSD. When I talk to vets, I see the pain. It hurts because I felt that pain before in my life. Veteran suicides, we see that every single day. Mays shared her personal story one day after formally filing the States Reform Act, a legislation that would federally deschedule marijuana, allowing states to make their own decisions about cannabis policy, providing a pathway for expungements for people with nonviolent marijuana convictions, establish a relatively hands-off federal regulatory scheme. So, of course, a lot of people are openly supportive of Nancy Mace and this legislation, which is seeking to end the criminalization of these things. So the State Reform Act protects kids, the schedules protects veterans, supports businesses, a 3% federal excise tax, a safe criminal justice reform, and to be regulated just like alcohol and tobacco. It allows states to do what they're doing today and one thing to do with regards to release and expungement. It gets the federal government out of the way of what states are already doing today. It has a levy of about 3% excise tax. It also creates a framework for regulation at the federal level, just like alcohol. Mace said the bill will be co-sponsored by at least half a dozen GOP House members. I tried to make this palatable for both sides of the aisle. Having expungement release of federal nonviolent cannabis users was a big component of that. Republicans and Democrats alike have for years now tried to create second chances for these individuals. And this bill will do that. It will affect 2,600 inmates given expungements and the release. According to National Conference of State Legislatures, 36 states, 4 territories allow medical cannabis use. 18 states, 2 territories, and the District of Columbia already allow non-medical adult use. American support for marijuana legalization has grown, underscoring a national shift as more states have embraced cannabis for medical or recreational use. It seems as if there is against and for. We have a debate around here. And so for the time being, if you take a look at most cannabis names in the watch list, unfortunately, the market is judging a negative move. Chronos is negative 11%. You don't need to take a look on this because that's a penny stock. Either way, Chronos down 12%, Tilray down 11%, Aurora Cannabis down 11%, Organigram down 10%, CGC down 9%. You could see that the general market action is saying that despite the possible legislation pro decriminalization of cannabis usage, seems as if the market is unaware or either aware that it's not going to pass or there's going to be volatility and delays. So we are seeing a lot of companies also, downgrading. Some of them are downgrading. Let me see this initiation. Some are actually saying, I've seen some analyst reports saying that the market is too small, and they are actually downgrading a lot of cannabis names. So it could also be the reason why Tilray, I think this was a downgrade. Barclay initiated coverage of Tilray, Kronos, Canopy Growth, all at underweight, which in stock market language is actually a sell rating. So we are still seeing that despite the massive drop overall of cannabis, seems as if there's no love for the sector. Unfortunate for us, because we tried to buy a few days ago, and around November 9, November blah blah, yeah. Something to share in a little bit of a good news. Some good news still remains in the technology sector. You've got cybersecurity firm Palo Alto Network raising outlook as cybersecurity demand continues to grow. That said, even with the raised outlook, you'll notice shares are dipping 1% in after-hours trading. Intuit stock soaring 7% after acquisitions are fueling an earnings beat, increasing guidance. We are seeing software as a service names as a whole, whether it be Datadog, Atlassian, as a whole, yes, the software as a service names are still relatively strong. Now, also, what is still very strong are all these metaverse plans. Even if there is no definitive winner, the world has already crowned all the semiconductor chip makers as winners, whether it be AMD, whether it be NVIDIA, Qualcomm, Xilinx. So you can see, we don't have to listen to the CNBC video, although that's just 3 minutes. Of course, Facebook has been will source their chips all through from AMD. Notice that AMD has been on a huge tear, 100 to 155. And if we are gonna have high performance computing, it is very much seen that AMD will continue to be bought on any dips. In fact, the recent dip of 140 was bought immediately after a 2-day drop and have been consequently still hitting all-time highs. We are of the view that any dips near 140 or even 120, you would have all those buyers for AMD. You'll also see the same thing happen for NVIDIA as the market continues to see, especially after all the sharings during the GTC conference of NVIDIA about how NVIDIA is a must-have. You've got Omniverse Create platform, not just really about helping consumers, but really businesses from the likes of Bentley Systems, from the likes of Siemens Energy, saving billions of dollars. I mean, if you want to check out NVIDIA GTC 2021, I think it's going to be a good use of your time. Give yourself an hour and a half, go through so many videos in the NVIDIA channel, their own YouTube channel, and you will see that there is no question the market will continue to keep on buying NVIDIA on any dip, whether it's because of the metaverse, it's because of 5G, it's because of artificial intelligence, it's because of so many things, self-driving vehicles, and so forth. Okay, the thing about NVIDIA is that it keeps on really breaking to all-time highs, and that is something that is a good sign. It's a good sign that people would keep on holding their winners like NVIDIA, and they would actually continue to buy on any dips. So meanwhile, while Chinese names are floundering on the all-time lows, we are seeing actually these semiconductors hitting all-time highs. Clearly, there is a money flow change or a shift. As you can see, this 200 to 300, any dips are really going to get bought. We're seeing 50% massive moves in a single month, October to November. Xilinx, almost the same thing. This is all happening in just one quarter, from 140 to 220, almost the same path, 50% rally on Xilinx, XLNX. So these are FPGA field programmable arrays. Also, it's very useful for that 5G world. So these are getting a huge bump, and we don't see it falling anytime soon. Any fall, you'd always have a buyer. We've seen racing, earnings beating guidances, and racing outlooks Qualcomm. It wasn't just about the 5G shipments, but overall, they have incorporated Qualcomm Snapdragon for cars as well. So they're doing a lot of chips for connected cars. In particular, they share BMW as their partner. So we do see that Qualcomm is very much a huge winner for this connected car world, as well as just really the rampant shift to 5G phones with Qualcomm technology for all these phones. So you've got these gap ups continuing higher, 120 to 180. If you think about it, almost all of them have rallied at least 50% in a single month. And we don't foresee any of these 50% gains slowing down anytime soon. Any dips will continue to be bought. Now, I would say that the market has been very narrow. Yes, we are agreeing that the Metaverse is a very, very strong platform. However, what you're seeing in the Metaverse platform is that the market is simply isolating themselves to very few winners. Obviously, your Microsoft is a winner there. You see all-time highs happening for Microsoft. You have the likes of Apple, of course, winning on that wearables move. You've got that hitting 157. And we said actually when it was trading at about 148 or 150, that we do believe that when it's coming to a metaverse world, either Apple gets more buyers at 144, as we foresee it going as high as 165. And you can see this gap up, well, it's not a gap up move, but the market's really positioning itself to the undisputed leaders, which are all your fans. You've got FB. Well, FB isn't still strong, but we are seeing an uptrend channel happening for FB, metaverse platforms. You're seeing, of course, Google, also a huge winner here, still hitting all-time highs. Actually, what we're seeing is that since the world agrees that the Web 2.0 is transitioning to the Web 3.0, the thing about this decentralized world is that while the crypto community are hitting all-time highs for Sandbox, for Mana, Decentraland, you can see these things happening. Decentraland nearing all-time highs. You've got Sandbox hitting, relatively higher highs, all-time highs. So what we're seeing here is that while Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Binance, the wax chains, the NFTs, crypto is actually very bullish, I would say. Crypto is very bullish in the metaverse, and a lot of metaverse coins are actually very much strong. Let me just show you that. Even Somnium is now trading $21. Just a few days ago, we were saying it out loud to our Awesome10X community. Take a look at Somnium space. 14 to 21. I mean, crypto is really amazing when you think about it. That's just 3 days. I mean, 50% move for your NVIDIA, Xilinx happening in just 3 days in crypto world. So obviously, when people tell me that BTC is going down, we actually have the view that it's a buy on dips. Actually, 52,000 or 50,000 is a palatable entry point for most of us, as well as Ethereum, more of an entry point here about 3.6, 3.8. Now, it hasn't fallen there. Hopefully, there will be that dip entries. I'm more inclined to just buy the top cryptos rather than going through hula hoops with other names, since I prefer really these wax chain ecosystems, Binance Dollars, Solana. So yeah, these are the names that I will be picking up on any potential drop. Wax is now trading at $1. Wow, I thought it was just like 75 cents. Apparently, metaverse tokens are resilient. So I'm also gonna say that in the stock market, metaverse plays are resilient. It's just that most of the metaverse plays are really very few. So you've got Unity trading at all-time highs. You've got Roblox still trading at all-time highs, although there is some profit taking at 126, 136. Overall, guys, we see that the metaverse big mega caps, all the mega caps are winners here. And obviously that's true because I couldn't envision a world, to be honest, without Microsoft, NVIDIA, Facebook, Meta platform owning that future Web 3.0. It's not easy for me to decide whether Roblox, Sandbox, Decentraland, Unity. So I think what the market just simply did was, well, let's just buy them all. I think that's how the market believes. And you can see it happening in the actual mega caps. So for that, we are correct in the semiconductors, in the mega caps, winning this war. Well, it's not really a war. I don't think that the internet has a war with each other. I don't think that Epic Games' vision and Facebook's vision of the metaverse is different. They're all working together hand in hand. So even Tencent, which is not, people aren't seeing it as a metaverse play, although of course for us, it is a metaverse play. Perhaps the only Chinese company that we would give a recommendation to buy. Because for me, since this is a secular trend, it is unimaginable for me to see Tencent not hitting, well, not necessarily hitting all-time highs, obviously because Chinese stocks are getting a lot of discounts. But Tencent's ownership of Roblox, of Discord, of Riot Games, of Epic Games, there's just so much inside Tencent that makes me think that surely over time, the market could see that when you're long the metaverse, you gotta be long Tencent as well, not just the likes of Roblox or Unity. But at the same time, as you see all these metaverse tokens in crypto and metaverse stocks in the market go higher, any dips, guys, would be bought. But I am more confident, obviously, that it's easier to just buy the likes of Meta platform or Microsoft rather than assuming that Sandbox or Decentraland are the ways to go for it. Of course, if you are already invested in Sandbox, in all these metaverse crypto names, you are already confident and ahead anyway. So there's no way for you to actually, there's no reason for you not to ride the gravy train, whether it goes higher and higher. If the market wants to play that metaverse game through that, they will. Anyway, it's the most well-known crypto projects when it comes to the metaverse. Now, here's what I am having a tough time for, because when you think about the metaverse, we think about VR headsets, we think about virtual reality glasses, and we think about haptics, those that we would wear for that, so that we would feel if you are doing a fencing match or you're doing blade and sorcery with Facebook's Meta platform, part of me believes that haptics would play a role. Unfortunately, immersion is still here at about $7, but I am also still advocating and still keeping my Immersion Corporation shares simply because I just couldn't see a world where only the mega caps win. Either the market doesn't know, sometimes it is possible, because if you notice, like Somnium is just rising, well, a few days ago, not necessarily on October 29, when the metaverse was being pushed. Although, yeah, technically speaking, October 29 was this, around $8. So $8 hit 28, had a nice dip at about 12, and now rallying back to 21. It would not surprise me, guys, this goes to 28 and goes to 39, because I am a big believer of the metaverse. Obviously, this is not a valuation call. This is more of a secular trend call. But even from a valuation standpoint, I do believe that Somnium Space, which is the Winklevoss twins of a metaverse, shouldn't be valued less than $1 billion versus the Sandbox or Mana's Decentraland trading more than $5 billion. Okay. And also, let's just, so let's take a look at wearables. I don't know why it fell. To be honest, some people are saying that is the market crashing? Why is Copen falling down? As far as I know, I'm still holding my Copen shares. I am bullish with the metaverse, and I can't foresee a world without wearables playing a role. So if you're bullish Google and Apple, you have to understand those Google glasses still need that pancake optic display, and the pattern of that comes from Copen. So while it was a nasty drop last night, I still kept it. So yeah, I kept my Copen, I kept my Immersion. Vuzi had great numbers, but this is a little bit weird for me too. That's why people are asking in the title, markets are crashing, should we nuke? It seems to me that it's likely that we may be too early. Sometimes we're early in a trend. Is it possible that we are early in the wearables and the market is only willing to pay semiconductor plays? The market is only willing to play infrastructure providers like the Microsoft for the cloud computing of that world, as well as the HoloLens, and then NVIDIA for the support. You know, how do you create that world? You need the likes of NVIDIA to integrate all of the things that you're doing in your Unity or Unreal Engine. So, or Maya if you're using that, or Substance if you're using that. So, yeah, so far, even if the wearables charts don't look good, I'm still keeping it as of the moment. We are still keeping our buys on wearables. Although, yes, it's nasty. So possibly at 15, 16, if you've got woozy, you might wish to take some profits out, take some exposure out. And of course, just by chart knowledge, Copin has selling pressure still here at about $7. Seems like it's very tough for it to go to about 7 to 10. So we might have to trim some if it rallies back to about $6 or 6.50 or 7. It's kind of weird given that, as far as I know, all the news on Copin has been bullish so far. They just actually bagged and had $3.5 million shipment with military, which is U.S. government. Now, recently we have been saying that retail has been very strong. Unfortunately, not all retail are strong. While it is true, Victoria's Secret very strong last night earnings. I'd say that people would buy these dips, right? Victoria's Secret would have buyers. It's unfortunate that not all retail is actually moving up, or even if it's going up, it's a weak bull. So for instance, Shake Shack, after rallying a massive 40% rise here from about 78 all the way to 100, it's now Sleeping Beauty here at about 83. So some people are actually asking, well, are we still bullish on Shake Shack? Personally speaking, after a very good number, I have a view that it is supposed to be kept. Just like if you have Victoria's Secret, you are supposed to keep it. Or if you have Tapestry, you are supposed to keep it and hold on to it, which we are holding on to it. CPRI, which is Capri Holding, still keeping and still holding. For the retail names, we had a buy call on them, specifically on a week after October 29, which was about November 7. After seeing several names in retail, all blasting to all-time highs and very good numbers, right? So Macy's, take a look at this. We were also bullish in shopping. So Macy's was also discussed. Home Depot was also discussed. So looking back to our calls, you know, with the Metaverse and retail, I'd say that as a sector, you aren't wrong. Now, here and there will be mistakes. One mistake is far-fetched. Tonight, this is gapping down 20%. So this was a gap down tonight. I think it's opening $35. Obviously, if you have it, you have no choice but to cut loss on it. We thought that it was going to be strong given that Farfetch was getting a partnership with Richemont, which is the top luxury goods maker in Europe, similar to Louis Vuitton, all-time high. Richemont ticker symbol is CFR, also trading at all-time highs. So we're thinking that the sector was strong. Yeah, so what you're seeing really in the market is that to answer, is the market crashing? It's not crashing, but there are sectors that are crashing. So obviously the first two, you saw crashing markets on Chinese stocks. We do believe that will persist. Crashing markets perhaps on weed, unfortunately, that even if you think it's oversold, you know, I am also seeing that it's oversold, but it's just hitting near all-time lows nowadays, despite upcoming legalization. It's possible that these people selling down know something I don't. It's possible. There could be people that are against the bill, and if that were the case, it could fall another 10-20%. Overall, just to be safe, cannabis names would have to be sold. Now, there are some weird things that we are also not agreeable about. For instance, we think that Fastly's numbers were great, but the market still sold it down afterwards, like 58. After rallying to the resistance, it fell down back to 45. Fundamentally, I don't see a reason to sell. But obviously, from a technical sense, you do have this 51, 52 as a resistance. If you want to be safe with positions, you want to be neutral. At the very least, you might not be bullish, you might not be bearish. You just have to be neutral about it. It's likely that these names are gonna stay low if there's no momentum. Unlike the strength that we see on the Metaverse tokens or Metaverse stocks hitting all-time highs. So in conclusion, guys, I would say that the very best names are still going up. Your Palo Alto network, as I said, still hitting all-time highs, which means, guys, that CrowdStrike, no matter how expensive, would likely get bought on dips. Because the sector of cybersecurity is really strong. Fortinet also hitting all-time highs. Checkpoint Software. Yeah, most of them are actually all-time highs. Well, I don't necessarily invest in them. Sentinel-1, if it ever drops, you will have these buyers simply because of a sectoral play. Let's go through some ideas. No, we have been saying climate change last month. Are we still bullish on them? Yes. Honestly, this dip on Sunrun, I'd rather be a buyer than a seller. Although it's really a weak bull, no? So quite a weak bull. But my view is that this goes higher, back to about 56 to 60. Assuming you think this is weak, the first resistance would still be $60. So we would trade the ranges on the weak bulls, no? Enphase, this is a stronger bullish case for the solar region. You want to buy this on dips near 225, which was the all-time high prior and will become support. So in general, for clean energy names, I wouldn't sell it to the point of shorting it. I wouldn't do that. But I also acknowledge that it's really volatile. These last few weeks has not been very well for a lot of electric vehicles. If you've got EVs, I'd say that you already got a sell signal from Rivian. This is a sell signal. Lucid is also getting a sell signal, obviously because of super high moves, right? It just has to consolidate already. And therefore, your batteries will also sell off. Your QuantumScape selling off. Your Freyr batteries selling off. You know, this is a normal sell-off because it has rallied so much from as low as $8 to $14. Now, how about LiDAR names? We believe in electric vehicles. How about the LiDAR SPACs? Laser was doing well, actually, with the partnership with NVIDIA. However, the market seems to have taken profits. So I'm seeing that while this is a bull run for Luminar Technologies, it is a weak bull. It's not a super strong bull unlike NVIDIA's or AMD's or Facebook's or Microsoft's. So we can clearly see the market is very narrow. The leadership is very narrow. If you have a chosen sector, try to be less exposed to the weak bulls, no matter how bullish you are with that sector. What do I mean? We have a weak bull thesis on wearables. We have a weak bull thesis on LiDARs like these, and also a weak bull thesis on these solar renewable energy plays. How about uranium? People are also asking uranium. The nice thing about uranium is that we're still hitting near all-time highs. So I'd say that this one is more of a keeper. Ura, CCJ, if you have it, I'm still keeping them. I'm still holding on to these names. But obviously, the strongest of them, it's not that strong. I mean, I would keep it, but it's not that strong, right? So DNN fell all the way from 210 all the way to 180, which tells me that any rally back to $2 for Denison Mines would have resistance. or even your Paladin energy. If it rallies near 1, you've got the resistance here, 1, 10. So yun, just be aware that the market's volatile, but it doesn't mean that it's a sell. It's not a nuke. At best, it's a semi-nuke. A semi-nuke means that you have to rebalance your positions, your weak positions, to the super strong positions. And obviously, the market is heavily super bullish on these FANGs, these Metaverse, which win. And if you really ask yourself, who are the winners in the Metaverse, you will find yourself still saying it's Microsoft. It's probably FB. Microsoft, FB, Apple, Google, Amazon to a certain extent, because if e-commerce is going to happen in the Metaverse through experiences, then they'll also happen. This is really what happened to the market. So, yeah, I'll answer questions if any. Farfetch dove negative 22% because of a company-specific problem. It was not retail sector in general. So that would be a sell. Some people would buy puts on it tonight. Cloudflare is still a winner. And honestly, one thing I have a hard time to wrap around my head is that while Fastly is hitting all-time highs, while Cloudflare is hitting all-time highs, Fastly is still neutral in the market's eyes, which I have a hard time to believe upon simply because the Metaverse should be composed of low latency solutions. And it can't be just the FANGs winning that. So yun, we'll see if the market will change its view, but I am neutral. I'm not bearish on Fastly. I'm not bearish on the wearables. I'm not bearish on solar energy. At best, I just find it neutral because I cannot deny that there's weakness on the technicals. Now, SPACs, you have weakness. So you are seeing biodegradable companies, they do have resistances. For a while now, Origin Materials is being asked with me. Yes, I do believe, super strong guidance, but because it's a SPAC, people are always hesitant to buy higher than the current resistance, which still resides here at about 750. If you want to be safe, you want to exit your Origin Materials here at about 750, and then hopefully just buy it back again around $6 or lower. Looks like it's a trading range, unfortunately. So for safety purposes, my advice to anyone who's willing to take it is have some cash if you want to really bet on biodegradable plastics, which is Origin Materials, simply because SPACs isn't in super bullish trend. Yeah, it's not super bullish. At the same time, be aware that you have to be neutral about it. While we aren't saying that it's super bullish, we aren't bearish either. I'm not bearish on LiDARs. For instance, should it follow that Ouster here at about $6 area or $6.50 should be sold? To me, honestly, I'm a little bit sad that it fell again after hitting $7.50. But I think that these are all bottoming reversal positions for Ouster, for Innoviz, for Veldine LiDAR, and for Laser. So I am very bullish with all these LiDAR firms. But to be safe, yes, I took some profits on Innoviz just to be safe, seeing that other LiDAR firms seem to be not getting their stride. Because no matter how you look at this, Luminar has a seller at 21, 22. So these nasty drops, I don't like the volatility. What I'll do is I'll sell on some rips so that I have some cash when it dips. So, if I sold at 22, it wouldn't be a problem to buy at 19, those types of names. So weak bull, but still bullish on LiDARs. For Origin, I don't know what prices you have, but it seems like 6 is the support, 7 to 8 is your selling pressure. So just follow the price charts for now, because there's no bullishness to make it move beyond 9 for the meantime. In the meantime, okay. So have a good evening, guys, and see you again next week. sad title, but that's the truth. Sometimes you have to hear the truth. And the truth is that the market leadership is very, very narrow. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Bye.